Even though I don't know, there were a lot of Badger alums at the Margaritaville Resort in Fort Myers. When this thing came home, people were jumping at the pool. And all I could think is they were dreaming of Matt Lepay giving a touchdown Wisconsin with the Badgers going up 31-14 at home against, insert whatever opponent. Could be Western Illinois, could be Michigan, whatever it is, whoever it is. We will be excited whenever the Badgers are taking one of those big leads. Michigan State could be an interesting one. Very excited for it. Matt Lepay joins us now on the Huddle. I'm Billy. Hunter Baumgart in for Drew Olson. There's Armin Sari and Nagano out for one more half hour as the Winter Olympics conclude this weekend. Matt Lepay, appreciate the time as always. And I'm excited for you to be, before we talk about the team on the floor and everything that's happening now, very excited for the continued release and more people to get their eyes on A Road at Night, and even more excited for you to be in the greater Milwaukee area coming up for a viewing and a post-viewing discussion coming up tomorrow. Love that more people are going to get an eye on this, and very, very thankful for you to be making the trip up here coming up tomorrow afternoon.
Well, the crowds have been great here in Madison. They've extended the run here in Madison for A Road at Night. The theaters were packed last weekend. They've continued that way from what I understand. And then tonight, it's Patrick Herb, Jarrell Moore, Howard's son, and Charlie Wills, a former Badger, will be there. And then tomorrow, the screening is at 4 with the panel to follow at the Majestic Cinema Brookfield. And then it'll be Ben Brust, who was recruited by Howard. That'll be part of the story that Ben will tell, and Brian Butch, who played when Howard was on Bo Ryan's staff. So it's as we've said multiple times, because it's true, it's very emotional. And some of the feedback I've had from those who have been in attendance is at the end of the movie, they're drained. You don't know what to do. And I think when you're there, when there are panels, it can help some, but it's just, it's so powerful. It's important. I mean, is it a grab the popcorn and sit back? I wouldn't put it in that category. It's just a really important movie, and you'll probably cry a little bit, but hopefully you'll walk out of there feeling pretty good about some of the best in people that have come out in the nearly 7 years after that accident.
Well, sometimes, sometimes those are the better experiences. You want to talk about deciding whether to come out and see it and those type of things. Sometimes those are the most, in a weird way, enjoyable experiences, because you're moved and you feel fulfilled by being moved by emotion and in those sense. And you get lessons of perseverance and the enduring power of friendship and brotherhood that you maybe needed or didn't feel like you thought about until you saw it again. So in a weird way, Jimmy V said it right in his speech. It says
three things that we should do every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Number 1, laugh. You should always laugh every day. Number 2, you should think. And number 3, you should have emotions. You should be moved to tears. You should laugh. You should think, and you should cry. And that's a full day.
And I've heard people talk about it. Like the act of being sad and crying is not necessarily on the surface level a enjoyable thing in the moment, but it can make you feel better in certain ways from being fulfilled and from what it means. And it has like this cathartic experience. So I would encourage people, if they can, to go see it for those reasons. Don't avoid it because you're afraid of a sad feeling. Look for the positives, look for the silver linings, and look for the reasons to look for a deeper kind of meaning and things like that. So it sounds like this documentary provides all those things.
It does. I mean, we all know that we live in a world right now where everybody's mad at everybody.
Yes.
We can't agree that the sun sets in the west, or that today is Friday. This movie is the opposite of that. This is where you see we've mentioned this before, under the very worst of circumstances, you see people at their best. And you continue to see that to this day with the crowds that have been, in the theater here in Madison, and what we hope and believe will be over in your area over there at Brookfield. It's one of those, and just to see all the former players and fellow coaches and who have come out, and here in Madison, some of the other teams have been out. The volleyball team came out earlier this week. I think the softball team has been out for meet and greets, but showing support, because there isn't anybody on those teams, or we're talking college age. It's Howard. This happened before they were in school, but they understand the story. The basketball team, the Curry basketball team, was there last Thursday night for the Premiers. So you see support from all different directions, and it's just been heartwarming to witness.
We talk about family in sports so much, and it embodies that to a different level, Matt. And I think, like, when I think of team and you think of the people that mean the most to you, a lot of them are the people that went through stuff with you, and to be able to see, I love that. And I would urge any team, in high school team that would be available. Again, like you mentioned, it's a heavy thing. It is a very, very heavy moment, and it's something that deserves, and frankly, it's appropriate to have discussion after, because if you don't, I don't know that you're fully grabbing and grasping everything that happened. And it's something that I would really, really urge a lot of coaches to be able to have their teams talk, because we talk about culture and there's buzzwords and love and family. And when you need those that love you the most, when you're at your absolute lowest, this is a remarkable story of those galvanizing and celebrating and being around somebody that they all, from what we've heard from everybody that's spoken to us about the story, Matt, they said, if this was one of us, Howard would have led the charge for all of us.
Yeah, the interesting thing here, and I've thought about this a lot, particularly with the documentary being out there again, is like the normal progression of life is that, when you're in college age, you're a certain way, and as you get older, you get more mature, at least theoretically.
Right. I'm still waiting for that one.
Yeah, I'm working on that myself. But Howard is one of those who got it right the first time. He would ask you in college, how are you doing? And he's not asking you that as he keeps walking. It's not a drive-by question. He wants to know, and he would know, particularly with teammates, if things weren't quite right. Hey, come on over. There's a part to the documentary where Andy Kilbride was struggling, and Howard said, "Hey, come on over. Let me cut your hair." And Andy was saying, "Well, I don't have any hair, but I don't have a lot of hair right now. But come on over anyway," because Howard sensed, you could sense that something is up. And by the way, to see him, and I think I mentioned this last Friday, Howard was there for the reception at the premiere last Thursday, and he was so excited to see everybody. But as I think Andy Kilbride said, he was even more thrilled. Like, it lifted Howard to this day is lifting up others, and that's who he is. As Stan Van Gundy is saying, the line of the documentary is there are exceptional people, and then there's Howard Moore, and that's a fact. That's not an exaggeration. That is absolute truth by one of the pastors, as he says in the documentary.
I love it, and to be able to see it, I'm very, very excited that it's coming out this way. And frankly, the more people that go see it, it needs to be in more theaters, and will continue to as more people go to it. So I'm very, very excited to be able to see it now. And listen, the Majestic Theater is a beautiful, beautiful spot. What also is a beautiful spot, the Kohl Center, when it's rocking. Now, I don't know exactly what this Iowa team that comes in on Sunday is, Matt, because all of a sudden, as I watch them get absolutely mollywopped by Purdue, then they go out and beat Nebraska, who, they play the kind of game that they want to. Is this about to be an old school Badger Hawkeye basketball? And when I say old school basketball, and that means like pre-Fran McCaffrey, where that was the most up-tempo team maybe in the Big Ten, and all of a sudden now we're playing Iowa no shot clock basketball, it feels like, with the Hawkeyes coming in here on Sunday.
It is a lower possession type of team for sure, and it's going to test the age-old theory in basketball. It's easier to slow a team down than it is to speed a team up. Wisconsin likes to play at a faster tempo. I mean, it's not racehorse, but certainly a faster pace than what we had seen for the longest time. Mm-hmm. And Iowa, it's a lower possession game in the 50s against a really good Nebraska team earlier this week on Tuesday night. But they did have a couple higher scoring games. They had a game at Washington a couple of weeks ago where, it was like 48-42 at the half. And then they hold Washington to 26 points in the second half. They put the clamps on. They are a good defensive team. They have a star in Sturts, Bennett Sturts, who was terrific at Drake last year, and he's a do-everything type of player. So there's the star right there, but they have a lot of other pieces. So almost entirely new roster. Ben McCollum's doing a great job there. So, and Iowa, you mentioned Iowa's kind of funky. Well, so is Wisconsin. Losing by 30 at Nebraska, being handled by Purdue, being handled by BYU, and quite honestly, being handled on Tuesday night at Ohio State. And yet there's 3 top 10 wins. on the resume as well. So
Yeah.
it's huge. It's a really intriguing matchup, not just in terms of style, but both teams when they've looked good, like, ooh, look at these guys. And then, for Wisconsin, there was Tuesday night when it was the opposite.
Yeah, it was the old Ted. I remember the old Ted Davis line about the 2018 or 19 Bucks when they were young and exciting, but coming up and playing well and play. It was they're really good until they're not, and they're really bad until they're great. And that's just the way they would. They would vacillate back and forth. The Badgers had been more consistent, obviously, before Ohio State, but you're right. Both of their profiles are similar in that they're kind of in that same economy, probably that 7-8 seed right now where you have great wins and you have some losses that make you look towards. So I think when you do face teams like that, it tells you a lot about yourself and it tells the committee about yourself a lot. So that's what can make this a big opportunity here for the Badgers on Sunday.
Billy, the Badgers are going to be interesting for you as you survey investments in March Madness, because Wisconsin looks to be a team that could make a really deep run or not. Or exit really early. But the guard play, which is like you could say that about most of the teams in the tournament, but I think with Wisconsin, it makes more sense. But the guard play, okay, these guys, with Blackwell and Boyd, that's a guard play kind of can carry the day. So people
and Braden,
and Braden Carrington, you got Nolan Winter in the front line. That's the question: is when you get to that point, will the good Wisconsin be there multiple times once they get into the tournament?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Matt Lepay, because crazily so, I know you're stunned by this development. I did research that a little bit while I was in a state in which investments on the local team are allowed. That in the state of Florida on an app that is not nearly as good as the one that the Potawatomi Sportsbook's about to put out. Come on, big vote today. Big vote today in Madison. Big vote today in Madison on sports gaming around the state of Wisconsin. More on that coming up. But 30-1 to make the Final Four after the loss on Tuesday night, Matt. So there was a spot for certain individuals that checked it, and it was 20-1 before the game that did end up waiting until Wednesday morning to be able to make the investment. I think it's a fascinating one because, again, when you're talking about being able to play the best teams, they've played up tall of the competition. And as much as people like to say, well, they played down to the competition, I think you hit it on the head. It's more about you than a lot of times people will always make it that they're playing towards the opponent. Well, they just might be a little bit up and down, a little bit streaky. But if you have 52% in you, like Ohio State did from three, and we've seen the Badgers have from three, you know that you're going to be able to probably play with just about anybody.
Yeah, that was the Tuesday night game. Ohio State really needed to win it. It was pretty close to a desperate kind of game for the Buckeyes, and they had a couple of guys who couldn't hit water from a boat until they did. Devin Royal was 0 for 15 from three over the last half dozen games, and then bang, 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 he's knocking down shots. Amari Bynum, who's a very athletic, very gifted player, but three-point shooting isn't really part of the resume. Tuesday night it was. And it was just, Wisconsin maybe made it easier for them. They got confidence early, but this is like I always hear people, Butchie and I were talking, baseball nuts. Well, that's baseball. Because that's sports. That's this happens. It's not just a baseball thing. It happens everywhere. You just have teams. Hot guys got cold. Cold guys got hot. Ohio State's a decent team. I don't think it's a great team, but it's good. Was really good, and they got help from sources in ways that they just don't get most of the time.
Yeah, the idea of 3-point variance now is a big thing. As
Your
more
favorite
teams,
thing.
As more teams shoot a lot of them, it's inconsistent results, and you just never know what's going to happen from game to game. Yeah.
I can't wait to put the 3-point variance T-shirt on once we get to March. That's my favorite shirt for March.
So you got that. You got three true outcomes in baseball.
Yes.
Walk, strikeout, home run, 3-point variance. So it's a whole lot of that going. Analytics. It's not just a baseball thing.
Yes, yeah, I'm going to have 3-point variance on the back. It's going to say progress is not linear.
And I'm just excited for at the end of this tournament when they do just like they did in the NFL. When they do in the NFL playoffs, they're like, man, it's crazy. It's like getting pressure with 4 wins. Oh, it's like we just started watching football.
We just discovered that.
You hit threes and you have good guards. That ultimately wins in bat. I do like when we go back to Matt. There's no DVOA or points per possessions that we're going to talk about. It's that guy was hot. He was the best player on the floor. Crazy that he made shots. Matt, I can't wait for tomorrow. It's going to be a phenomenal event, and urge everybody through the 24th. in Madison through the 26th here, a road at night, and more screenings, I would assume, coming up at aroadatnight.com. You guys are the best on Tuesday night. Just so you know, it was a little later for me. I was in the Eastern time zone, so you guys did put me to bed on Tuesday night, but I didn't sleep with you guys. I do appreciate it. They tucked you very, very nicely on the call on the Varsity app.
And you got me. You said you're in Fort Myers. I stay fairly close to where you were staying this week.
Nice.
One of the condos in that general vicinity, Fort Myers Beach. That's well done, Billy.
Everybody's
well
there. Everybody's there. That's why they're number one in the Olympics ratings. Because
the Olympics spot. Now, Matt, hopefully you don't get any hot water with the HOA spot like I may have got my folks into. I'm excited. I'll fill you in on that one with a cold one, because that's a good story to be.
That's a good tease. Yeah, I look forward to that over a couple of cold beverages. So, all right, boys.
See you this weekend. Have a great call coming up on Sunday. There you go.